What is up, guys? We just got our first real good look at the Switch version of Monster Hunter Double Cross, and you know what? It's what I expected it to be, but there were some pretty cool things in that trailer where they gave us some different information that I think pertains to a lot about the Switch and even the 3DS's future in this case. But first, let's kind of talk about Monster Hunter Double Cross and what we saw in this trailer. Now, there were some issues obviously going on here because it's in Japanese. I don't speak Japanese, so I had to kind of rely on some other people who were very kind to translate. They started posting on Twitter, and we got pretty much a good idea of what was happening here. Now, of course, the big one was the release date, which is only in Japan. Nothing about being localized or brought outside of Japan currently, but they are getting a release date of August 25th this year, 2017. And really, I figured, because I was talking about this on Twitter, that if they did a straight port, or mostly a port, basically using the game that was in the 3DS, bring it over to the Switch, make it look better, obviously, because the Switch should be able to do 1080p 60 on that. If they choose to do 60, it depends. But they can definitely do 1080p, bring it over, change some assets so it look a little better, higher quality. And I had a good feeling that they could get that out this year, despite a lot of people telling me they couldn't. Looks like they can. And now we're going to see Monster Hunter released soon, August 25th, way sooner. I think a lot of people figured it would have been like an October or November release. No, it's before the holidays hit completely. But from there, they shared some interesting connectivity options with us. Now, again, I was talking to some people on Twitter who were translating while we were watching it on live stream, which you can check out. I think YouTube probably posted that entire live stream. I was trying my best to keep an eye on everything and get everything translated. And like I said, there's people on Twitter helping me out. It looks like you will have the ability to transfer saves. You also have the ability to pair up and have Switches and 3DSs basically play together. From what people were telling me, it's not through co-op, it's not local co-op. You have to be online for that to work. A Switch and a 3DS cannot communicate to each other locally in the same room. You would have to use a router or an internet hotspot or some way to connect the internet to then play. So there has to be a server involved or something. It's hard to say. Maybe that they just need that there. Again, this is what everyone was translating and showing online. Maybe they come out and they give us a different, maybe they redact that information, but it looks like that's the case, which is fine. But it brings up the big point, which is that 3DSs and Switch systems can interact together, which is something that we weren't really sure about up until this point. And I think this answers a lot of questions going forward. And the biggest one was, if, let's say, Pokemon does show up, can the 3DS version and the Switch version work together in harmony, whether it's through battling, whether it's through trading, which of course there's a Pokebank, so trading wouldn't be an issue, or with, for battling. And it looks like that's the case. It looks like they will be able to interact completely fine, as we see here with Monster Hunter, which is a little different than a turn-based RPG. I mean, it's much more actiony, where you're running around, obviously, in fields, fighting monsters, obviously. It's Monster Hunter. And that is interesting, because this makes us think that maybe the 3DS, maybe Nintendo has something planned for it going forward. I mean, we were all really curious why the 2DS XL was announced now when it looks like the 3DS is on its way out. But maybe the 3DS isn't completely on its way out, because if they can port games from the 3DS to the Switch and they work together, there's no real reason to get rid of the 3DS right now. As much as people seem to want it to go away, well, what's the point if it still sells? They bring out a whole new system that's cheaper at $150. It could be a cheaper entry point into the Nintendo family, while still giving the Switch the same type of games. We also got a pretty cool look at a bundle that looked really nice. Now, that's never, to me, that's probably not going to leave Japan. That'll be in Japan. But what's cool is if you can somehow get it imported to you anywhere else in the world, it will work. You can use it because, of course, the Switch is region free. So maybe you have a friend over in Japan, maybe they can get you one reserved and you can get it in August. I do know, though, that the visuals are going to be a sticking point for some people. Not for me, because, listen, if you're concerned about visuals in certain video games, especially these ones, I don't know what to tell you. Because if the game's still fun, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. What I'm trying to say is, if you can't get over the visuals for Monster Hunter on the Switch, which, to an extent, I can understand what you're saying, because it is a 3DS game that's being ported to the Switch, but let me put it this way. Either you get this game, or you don't. And by that I mean either they port it over or they just don't bother with it. And how excited so many people were when they saw Monster Hunter Double Cross come over, why would you not be excited still seeing that it's mostly the same game as what's on the 3DS, but you now have the option to get it on the Switch if you'd like, where it runs better and it looks better, probably a lot better considering the 3DS screen just will not get an update for some reason to a higher resolution, probably because they've been coding for 240p for a while. Yes, 240p. You guys complain all the time about 360p on YouTube videos. 240p is what you've been playing on your 3DS for. So it gets a monumental jump to 1080p. It's probably going to run at 60 frames per second unless they have to keep something along competition, because it's a very competitive game, obviously. Maybe they do 30 frames across the board just for that. But I could see a 60 frames option without too much issue, so you would get the definitive version. It's going to play on a much nicer looking screen, and it'll be on your TV. So to me, it makes sense. I don't care about the visuals in this game. This also tells me, though, that Pokemon, whenever this Pokemon Stars rumor ends up being fact, which the more and more we see, the more and more it looks like it's fact, it'll probably be the same thing. It'll probably be a 3DS game ported over to look better, run better, and still have interconnectivity with the 3DS when you use it. But yeah, guys, the trailer was great. I had a lot of fun live streaming. You guys seem to enjoy it. And overall, it's just another game for the Switch that will just help bolster its lineup going into its second year, because between now and the end of the year, we're supposed to get Xenoblade, we're supposed to get Shin Megami, we're supposed to get Fire Emblem Warriors, and these are all games that are coming to, like, the rest of the world. Not to mention everything in Japan right now with Dragon Quest XI, obviously we just saw Monster Hunter, and probably a slew of other games that will be announced going forward that only go to Japan, and then maybe eventually get localized here, or, you know what, if there's an English option, we're just going to import it from Amazon Japan and be done with it. I am curious what your thoughts are, guys, on this game going to the Switch, mostly because it looks to be the 3DS port that I had a feeling it was. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Would you have rather seen them waited and put a fully built from the ground up Monster Hunter, which obviously that's not saying that couldn't happen, but would you have rather waited? Are you frustrated that's a 3DS port? Are you excited that's a 3DS port? Do you like that the 3DS connectivity is there? Let me know down in the comments, guys. I'm very curious on what your take is here. And, you know, if you're just plain excited, because it looks good. Again, it's going to only help sell Switch units, and it's just something else to play on the Switch. But that's it for now, guys. I will see you next time.